get up here much, so I thought I'd make a weekend of it. Right. The plan is Aladdin tonight, Tate Modern Saturday, and the Natural History Museum on Sunday. I want to see the dinosaurs. Sounds fun. Didn't you say you live near Norwich? Ipswich. Of course. Yeah, so, a bit of an event, she said, unclipping her water bottle from where it was attached by carabiner to her bag. We're a bit surprised you asked us, really. Most of our cases are local. Yes, well, your firm did such a good job with the conveyancing? Yeah. Well, it's a different division entirely, really. Property's a world away from family. Although we do meet in the middle, I suppose, she said. Ha! Right. Of course. Dan and Charlotte both looked on. As a tall man, Dan was half sure he knew from the telly sat down opposite them. He could almost sense her need to ask him who he was and where she might recognise him from. And in fairness, he was a little curious himself. It's not there, by the way, Dan said. The dinosaur. Sorry? Charlotte said, wrong-footed. The dinosaur, the big one. Dippy, or whatever his name is. He's on tour. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll do the Science Museum instead, she said. But Dan had stopped listening, seeing that Anya had arrived in reception and was standing at the desk to sign in. She looked well, wearing the dark blue jacquard patterned trousers she put on whenever there was a big meeting at work, and a white shirt under the beige trench coat that he'd once compared to Inspector Gadget's. She'd straightened her shoulder-length brown hair and had the fringe trimmed recently, so that it sat just above her eyebrows, bringing out her dark eyes. He also noticed the maroon lipstick she'd worn on 1,000 date nights and dinners with friends. Matt, now her solicitor, previously their friend Ish, was suited, clean-shaven and well turned out, though Dan was pleased to see his belly straining slightly against his white shirt. A sign of his recent drift towards middle-aged comfort and the sale of his racing bicycle. That's her, he said to Charlotte. Anya. Well, let's go and say hello then, shall we? She said, walking over to meet Dan's wife. For a second, Anya felt exposed. Matt was signing her in with one of the stern-looking receptionists, and here was Dan's solicitor, marching over with her hand held out to shake, while Dan lurked behind, hands in his trouser pockets, and staring at the space between his unpolished, scuffed black brogues, dusty with the months they'd spent undisturbed on a shoe rack. Matthew Barnaby, Anya heard, as Matt quickly stepped forward, the first line of defence between her and her husband's legal representative. Matt shook his opposite number's hand, then Dan's. It was strange to watch. They had been friends for years, well, sort of. Things had always been a little fraught between them. Either way, she was sure Matt wouldn't treat Dan like an adversary, as if he was any other divorce case. Dan was Dan. And at that moment, he was standing around and looking for all the world like a teenage boy picking up his date for a secondary school prom, visibly uncomfortable and out of place in his relatively formal wear, vaguely threatened by the adults in the room. It almost made her sad, seeing how hard he had tried to dress for this sort of thing, how he'd missed the mark with the dark blue chino trousers she had only ever seen him put on for funerals or meetings with the bank, along with the least weathered and worn of his checked shirts, yellow, blue and white, and the light grey tweed jacket he'd found in a thrift shop. His hair was messy, but short. He'd cut it back since Anya had last seen him. The recent addition of a beard, a similar grey-brown blend, added weight to his thin face. The last time she and Dan had been together with Matt and his wife Emma was a few months ago, at a barbecue round a mutual friend's house in Balham. Everyone knew that they were working through some things. No one knew that the work was about to stop. Now, Anya wondered if she'd made the right decision appointing Matt. He was good and reliable and doing it all for mates' rates with a promise of no judgment. And yet, here she was, opening the door to the most vulnerable hours of her life.